You're listening to Back Pew Convos.
I'm Sean.
And I'm Sal. And this is the podcast God wants you to listen to.
So if you want to remain in God's will, have a sit down.
Grab a beverage of your choice.
And have a listen.
You're welcome.
Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Dag nabbit.
Yeah, snag that dang.
Dag nabbit. I catch it next time. So,
When are we going to get that Mountain Dew sponsorship?
never. That'd be sweet, though.
Yeah. We put a lot of money in their pockets every year between the two of us.
True. With the Diet does.
Yep, I still haven't moved on to zero. I just like the Diet Dew. Tastes better to me.
Yeah. Occasionally, I'll give the zero another go.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm remembering this wrong. And then I give it a go, and I'm like, no. Diet is just superior. This is the one time only, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's superior or if I just prefer it, but I definitely prefer it. It's
I do.
superior to me.
Yeah. That's enough of that. Everything's subjective. It's all just whatever you feel, huh?
Yep.
This is just your opinion, man. Is that the whole thing?
The Big Lebowski. Yeah, man. Well, that's just like your opinion. Don't worry. I'm not going to do what everybody thinks I'm going to do. Freak out.
I might freak out, actually.
Yep. I haven't seen that movie in forever, actually. That one was, Half-Baked? I think that was Half-Baked.
I've only seen bits and pieces of that here and there. Here a little, there a little.
Jim Brewer.
Yeah.
Here a little, there a little.
Life
Everywhere.
online.
Everywhere a little. Oh, wrong one.
Precept upon precept.
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 Well, dude,
Mm-hmm.
you're fresh off the seas.
Ahoy.
Ahoy.
Arg. Yep. Fresh. Took a little drop off in Mexico, then came back. Right across the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah, it's America. I'll have you know. It's driving me nuts. If you know, you know.
We did get a pretty nice little storm one night. Or I say storm, but the wind was howling through there and had the boat rocking pretty well. So that was not something that I had really experienced before, because the only previous cruise I'd been on was on the Mardi Gras, which is a giant ship.
Mm-hmm.
So the Valor's no tiny ship, though.
No.
She's a big one.
Even their smaller ones are ginormous ships.
Yeah. And when we were stopped off at Cozumel, the Jubilee pulled in beside us, and Finn saw the roller coaster on there. He was like, "What if we just get on that one instead?"
Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, pal.
That'd be a crazy way to hitchhike around, though. Just hop on cruise boats, different ones, port to port. Don't even know where you're going. You just go to the next port.
Yeah. See a ship you like, and you'd have to be constantly packed and ready to go.
Not if you didn't take anything with you.
You gotta have clothes.
You just need a change of clothes.
I guess. I mean, technically, I guess. Unless you're getting on unless you're gonna... I would at least want a nicer pair of clothes as well. to,
Everybody knows you have to pack at least 2 extra pair of underwear in case you crap yourself.
Exactly.
It is vacation after all.
True.
Based on how many calories I ate, you would think it would be a real possibility. The old Lido deck will do that for you.
Yeah. Well, I've been sick, so that was a possibility for me as well this past weekend.
I'd heard that you've been pretty sick. What's up with
Yeah.
that?
I don't know, man. I lost like 5 pounds though
Hey,
over the weekend.
whatever it takes.
I don't want it to take that.
Well, if you would have just had enough faith, the Lord would have healed you of that.
Hmm.
If you would have just worked up enough faith, like squeezed it real tight.
If I squeeze that tight though, I just poop. or throw up. The other, that's what I was doing.
My word. Well, but this is Tuesday, so now I'm back to work.
Yeah.
Which is lame.
And my tummy's better today.
Well, that's good. That's not lame.
Mm-hmm. Actually just had a donut. We'll see how that settles with me.
Yeah. About, let's see, those donuts are from Saturday? That's just like 4 days. You're good.
How does that work? Do donuts... I know they go bad, but like what kind of shelf life are we talking about with donuts?
I have until they get real hard. They just can't chew them.
I could tell that these were not the freshest.
Yeah. Okay.
But
They're still good, though. They're not rotten yet.
But I knew that. I knew that they were at least from Sunday.
Right.
So,
true story.
Story.
So what's been up with you besides sickness? Yeah. I mean, when I'm floating out there in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, and I don't have any cell service. I don't know what's going on in the world. I don't know what's going on with my pal. I don't know what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. Really, I had been like really focused on my job at work has taken a lot of focus at work, and then I had been really focused on my workouts and trying to lose some weight and all that before I got sickly. And so that's kind of where a lot of my energy's been going. I haven't sat down to play guitar much lately, to write anything. I haven't read anything really, other than some Substack posts. I have been listening to some audiobooks and stuff. Kind of. I went and listened to Brian Zahn's "The Wood Between the Worlds" again.
I was gonna say, I thought you'd already done that one.
I have. It was just it's really good. It's really, really good. It'd be hard to say. It might be my favorite of his so far. He's got a new one coming out that I'm interested in. That's kind of about heaven, I think.
I feel like he's always putting books out.
Yeah. Well, I think he has like 4 more in the works. So yeah, he's constantly writing. But I think he's really good. I really like how he said he doesn't. I don't think he thinks that he does a good job of it, but he has started doing the audiobooks also, like reading them himself.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that.
I think that is unique. Just being able to hear the voice of the person that it came from. I don't know. It makes it seem more real, I guess.
Yeah, I prefer the books that are like that, really. Like, I think that's how Disarming Leviathan was, the Caleb Campbell book. Yeah. I think he did the audio for that. Never mind. I had a thought, but it's kind of meanish, and I don't know if I should say it.
Yeah, I haven't been reading anything, actually. Well, that's kind of a lie. I'm always reading at least something, but not anything real relevant. I was kind of, actually, I haven't had a lot of time But I did have some time to read the other day, and for the first time in a really long time, I was like, "What am I going to read?" And of course, I have a million books like unread, so that's not the problem. But it was like, what do I really want to read right now? I don't know. It's kind of weird for me to actually have time to read and then not sure what to read. But I started reading. I don't remember what the official title of it is, but Wayne Dwyer wrote a book. It's based on the Tao Te Ching, and it's sort of like he'll go through one of the, I don't know what they're called, verses or I don't know what they're called in the Tao, but you know, he goes through them one at a time, and so he'll like I think it's his translation of it, and then he gives like a um, commentary on it, or sort of like a little. It's real short, so I've been trying to do one per day, just as kind of a way to read through it. So I've done that over the course of the last 3 days, and I did pick up that book I was reading before. It's not by Torrance, but it's about the Torrance's theology. It's written by someone else. But I started reading it a long time ago, and I read it up until I went to my race out in Arizona, and then I kind of just never picked it back up again. But so this was the first time I'd read any of it since then, and I picked it up and was like, oh, guess I didn't realize how much my views have kind of evolved just in the last 6 weeks or so, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, to where I was like, oh, this is, it's kind of weird how that works. Like when you're, especially with theology books, like when you sort of evolve your thinking on something and then read like how it affects you differently, it's kind of interesting. But
Yeah. I feel like these lights are really close.
they do look really close.
Probably should have done something about that beforehand. It's fine. It's fine though. Yeah.
What do you got going on here on the computer?
Oh no.
Make sure we're still recording.
Okay.
For the audience, we are trying our old software that we used before, and it caused a problem, and we switched. And this is our first time retrying it since we switched back over. And so any little pop up that we get is sort of like, make sure we're still recording.
Yeah, I think we're good. I think that was a message from
Message in a bottle.
From Dropbox.
Oh yeah,
Telling me my Dropbox is full.
I know that. I know that thing.
Yeah. But like, yeah, as far as what else is going on with me, I don't know, man. I don't know. I've been thinking about Revelation a lot. I've been stewing on still on the Christian nationalism stuff, and my God, with all the things, there's just like honestly, while you were gone, there's probably a dozen things that happened that we could have did an entire episode on with all of this crap with Trump, and it's just like I don't know. I don't know if I have the energy to respond to any of it even. I don't know if it matters if I respond to any of it or not. You know what I mean?
Right. You know what I think's weird about it is I feel like I'm almost numb to it at this point. Like it's gotten to the point to where it's not even a surprise anymore, that you just expect it. Like this is just what the monster the beast has evolved into. And so when I get a glimpse of the beast, it's like doesn't even faze me anymore. You know what I mean? Like that's just what I expect to see. It's this everyday life now. So
yeah, the beast is perfect language for that.
Yeah, some would say I'm a bit of a lyrical genius.
A lyrical assassin. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. But that's the problem though, isn't it, right? Like
you would think that's a problem.
It's a problem that we have, like, we should not stop being shocked by this, I don't think. I think we've turned a corner when we stop being shocked by it, when we stop seeing it for what it is and just become numb to it to where we don't recognize it for what it actually is. I think that's a bad sign. I think that's the whole point of it is to make you, to bombard you with it so much that it just becomes normalized, and then but if that happens, then like what, like this is I don't know. I don't know what kind of effects this is going to have moving forward for us in American politics. You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean. I mean, there's days to when I have been so sort of frustrated with the whole situation that in my mind I was like, this is the death of evangelical Christianity. Like, this is the end. We are watching the dying breaths of it. And I mean, I know that probably sounds shocking to some people, and I don't even know, there are other days I don't think that, but there still are some days where I'll see something and I'm just like, this is going to be the death of it. Like, the church as we know it will not recover ever from this.
Yeah. Well, the American evangelical church may not.
Yeah. But I think
Recover.
I think, and maybe this is just me being an idiot, but I do think it affects all of just anything associated with the name Christ, Christianity. It's, even if they have no affiliation with it, it just gives Christianity a bad rap, I think, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I definitely think it does. And then for some people, it doesn't also, which is the thing. Like, it's, I don't know. This is something I've thought about some, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just full of crap and don't know what I'm talking about. But
We know you're not. You've been sick.
yeah, that's true. If there's one thing I'm not full of, it's probably that. But uh, like if you're, it goes back to kind of like what we've talked about before with like other, whenever there's been talks of revival in recent years, like it's, well, what kind of Christianity are we?
Right.
Like, if people are being attracted to Christianity right now, what is it that is attracting them? And is that actually true Christianity? Is that the Christianity that we want people to be exposed to? And if it is attracting these people, then you know what I'm trying to say?
I absolutely do. And that's kind of what I meant when I said the death of it. I mean, ultimately, sometimes to me, that does mean just Christianity, in general. But um, it also just means Christianity as we grew up with. Like, because I think what you're seeing is a huge exodus of people out and an influx of people that you're talking about who are attracted to that kind of Christian nationalist sort of Christianity. And what it creates is like a sort of I was going to use a derogatory term there, but I won't. It creates a monster. Let's just say that. A Frankenstein's monster made from what was left of Christianity as it began.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Um, I mean, like you said, there are people leaving also. And I do think that that's where my hope lies, actually, is in the folks that have had, well, the kind of experiences that you and I have had, and
Right.
dozens of others have had, where we have deconstructed, or we have, and I don't know, more and more, I don't know. I really am. You catch me on whatever day you catch me on, I might say something different. But today, I really am almost in the point where I almost don't know if you can see this without deconstruction. Then I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know if I want to make that. I'm not. I mean, I don't know if I want to say it that boldly or not, but it's. I do think that, like, I think there has to be some sort of experience, some sort of sifting, you might say.
Like what?
Sift you like white. Satan is asked to sift you like white. So I do think that there has to be a sifting, perhaps, before you can even see this and move in a different direction. And I think it seems like to me, this has sort of been your experience, I think, to some extent, even if indirectly from other people. But like a lot of people that I hear talk about this, and this is kind of fresh on my mind because I was listening to um, Rethinking God Tacos today, and Brian Zahn was on there talking about his new book. and they were talking about people who had this experience, and they all sort of have this experience of like having this sort of deconstruction, this experience of what feels like a lonely road, but one that was absolutely necessary, really,
Mm-hmm.
to come to the good stuff, to get to where you're at now. And for a lot of us, including those guys, it has, in some way or another, it has led to the church fathers. And even for you, I think, because like people like Baxter and people like that were so, which I mean, that is maybe all different for you right now, but I just like the people that have influenced you along the way
Yeah.
have for sure been influenced by the church fathers, even if you yourself weren't really super into the church fathers yourself.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's one of the big things that doing the classes with Global Grace, like gave me. I actually read Athanasius twice.
Yeah.
Just I didn't know anything about the guy before. I'd never spent any time with the church fathers. So, yeah.
But I do think that that's just a really interesting common thread, I think, is that it seems like a lot of these folks that have had that same experience that we've had are returning in a sense, or at least that's what they think they're doing. They're attempting to, get back to returning to Christianity as it was pre-Constantine, pre-Empire, everything else.
Right.
Like is there some sort of attempt being made?
I think you almost have to do that though if you want to. I mean, I guess you can do whatever you want, but if you really do care about like what you're deconstructing and reconstructing there, I think you almost have to backtrack, right? It's almost like what's the chances of it's not like you'd think everything was perfect and then you just broke off, so then you got to get right back on the path. No, like you got to go all the way back to find where we veered off the right track and then continue forward. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like it almost, I think it almost requires a backtrack.
Yeah. But I don't know that you ever see that need without the initial sifting, without the deconstruction.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. The only kind of exceptions that I would have to that, I think, are like and maybe it's just more current and future, is people just being raised up in it. That like the next generation after us that are being raised in churches by people who have deconstructed.
Yeah.
Those people may. But even then, I don't know. I mean, that's actually really funny. I listened to a podcast that's really related to this, and it's been on my mind ever since. And funny enough, it's a podcast about Rasta. So it's not even. I mean, I guess Rasta is sort of a Christian
Offshoot.
That's the right word. It's not a denomination, but yeah. But anyway, he was breaking down the message of Abram's call and like talking about like kind of talking about it from a perspective of esoteric sort of internal kind of thing, and he was talking about how Abram was called to leave his father's house and how in order to like receive this blessing, he had to leave everything that was familiar to him. And like, as soon as he was talking about this in my mind, it was like, this is deconstruction. Like it's what you're talking about. Like you can't find your own path. You can't find the truth if you stay where everything is familiar. You're never exposed to new things. You're not asking questions and having new experiences. If you don't do any of that, you're never going to find your own way. Like you're never going to find that blessing. The only way Abram found that blessing was to not just leave his father's home, but he didn't know where he was going.
Yeah.
It was just have faith and step out of the familiar. And to me, like as he was speaking about it, the only thing I kept thinking about was deconstruction and essentially what you're saying,
Yeah, which ironically makes what feels like in the moment, what feels like a losing your faith in the moment is actually maybe the greatest step of faith I ever took in my life.
Yeah. But I mean, and that's Abram, right? Like again, he didn't know where he was going. That first those first 10 miles were probably the hardest miles for him,
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think that's right. I think there's a lot of examples like that you could probably go to.
The funny thing about that is I think if you were to preach that message in a Christian church, like everybody would be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then like if you think through, like my experience was I had to leave my father's land. You know what I mean? Like I had to leave the religion, the everything that was familiar to me and find my own way. I mean, so I think everybody in a Christian church would like agree with the message, but then if you think through it, it's a dangerous one.
Yeah. Depends on what in their minds leaving their father's house
Right.
means. Yeah.
I think even if ultimately it leads right back to your father's house, it's not about the end destination, I think, as much as it is about the journey away. Like you've got to, which is essentially what you're saying, you know, you have to have that experience. You have to walk the path, have experience, ask questions. Like, how do you know? That was always one of my more frustrating things when talking to people about the Bible and, you know, like other religious texts. And it's like, no, like those religious texts aren't the level of the Bible, but then like you've never read it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you have to experience it. Like, you can't tell me, you know. I think that that's what we're talking about here. That is deconstruction. Is ultimately just asking the questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a thought, but it sounded a little too, what's the word? I'm not smart enough to remember the smart word that I was thinking. But I had a thought that I was that I'm glad has left me now, because if I had said it, I feel like I would have sounded a little too not uppity. What's the
Stuck up,
no, not
too pretentious.
pretentious. That is the exact word that I was trying to think of. Pretentious. So I shan't be saying that, I guess.
What?
That'd be a good thing that left my mind. But now I don't even remember what you said.
Yeah, me either.
But yeah, it's I do one thought that I did have about the whether it has to come through deconstruction or not is like, well, there's different levels of deconstruction
Yeah.
also, but also the um like for some people they may not ever lose faith in God, but it's still, to your point, it's still a being exposed to new ideas and new thoughts and things like
Right.
that can occur through just like educating yourself. Like people go to seminary and they may not ever lose faith in God, but they may leave the seminary with completely different views of
Yeah.
God than they went in with. You probably should, I think, maybe have some things challenged and maybe change.
Unless you just knew everything right off the bat,
Right,
then it sounds like you wasted your money on your education.
exactly. But like, I guess the specific example that came to mind was Chris Green, because he doesn't call what he went through a deconstruction, but his theology is completely different than it was, as it should be, I think, whenever he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know, first going into whenever he was young and going into seminary for the first time. Like, I know he tells the story of like reading Lilith by George MacDonald in a night, and immediately saying, I don't remember the exact phrasing that he used, but it was something to the extent of, I don't know what all this entails or what all this means exactly, but I know he's right. Like, I believe that he's right about this, about God. And I think a lot of his theology
I just know for me,
is shaped by that.
for me, the word deconstruction was perfect. I mean, to me, it's been so long now, I don't remember, but I almost think I was using the word deconstruction to describe my own experience before I'd even heard it used by anyone else. Like, not saying that I coined the term, obviously, but just, it's not like back then there was tons of podcasts and books and stuff about it, so I'd had no one to talk to about it. But in my own mind, as I was thinking through it, like, there was no better word to describe what was happening to me than deconstruction. Like, that was the word that naturally came to my mind through the process. Like,
Right.
and I think it's real applicable for me, but,
Well, and I think that's why that term caught on the way it did, is I think it is very applicable to even just to the feeling of it. It feels like a literally pulling apart piece by piece yourself.
yeah. It's almost interesting to think about. I haven't thought really about my initial deconstruction in a long time, because that's been forever ago, so like looking back on it now, trying to think back and remember how it felt and what I was going through at the time is kind of interesting, because I almost feel like I can remember specific times to where it really was just a like letting go. You know what I mean? Like that feeling of just like struggling to, like, imagine just picking up like the heaviest sandbag or whatever, and just you're holding it, and it's getting heavy, your arms are just starting to go numb and you can't hold it anymore, and then finally you just let go, and then you're comfortable again. Like everything, it's just that weight is just dropped off you. That's like, I can remember feeling that through where I was like certain topics or doctrines that I was just clinging to. I was trying so hard. I was doing apologetics. I was trying to turn the pretzel knots and just trying to hold on to these things. And then they get to a point to where you're just like, I can't hold on anymore. And you just let go. And then once you let go of it, you're like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is actually initially what all of deconstruction maybe is just setting all your stuff down so you can breathe.
yeah.
And then deciding what you're picking back up again, or shopping around for new sandbags to pick up or whatever.
I think that's the part that most people understand, but the part of it that I don't think most people understand is that initial struggle before you, because I feel like people want to think it's just like, oh, you just set it down, just let it go, and then you moved on to your next thing. And it's like, you don't realize the intense fight that you're trying with everything, because you feel like if you let it go, you're going to die. Like it's everything to you. You know what I mean? So letting it go is the hardest thing in the world until you do.
It's almost more like having an arm full of sandbags
Yeah.
rather than like one large sandbag.
Yeah.
It's like a piece falls here, and a piece at a time, a bag at a time
Yeah.
falls. At least that's how it was for me. Like, because it wasn't all at one time. It was like hell was the first thing to kind of be like, and then the fatherhood of God because of hell was another sandbag thing that was kind of like, well, I don't know, if God must not be much of a father if hell is real. And then it was like, well, what about the cross and the violence of the cross? And that sandbag fell. And then it's like, well, what about the rapture? And
well, and just the cross one there opens up a million different, like, that's the thing
Yeah.
about it, is each one that you drop opens up the 10 more, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because it's not like they're all just isolated things. They're like, just like you said, it started with hell, but then because of that, you have to think about the fatherhood of God and the goodness of God. And then because of that, you have to think about the cross. Well, then think about how many things are affected. Like, that's, now you're getting towards the foundation of the whole thing. So
Yeah, the problem of evil is in there for sure. Like, yeah, it like you said, it's all connected. And if you allow yourself to see those connections for what they are and where they are, it's inevitable that those sandbags are going to fall.
yeah.
The question is, what do you do when your hands are empty? Some people just stay in that freedom.
Yeah.
Because it is a sort of freedom. I get it. It is a sort of freedom. I think for myself, though, it was a freedom that I would view now as actually not freedom. I feel like I let all that stuff go, and I have a bunch more stuff now, but I'm not weighed down by it. I'm lifted up by it. So it's not just that I don't have this weight holding me down anymore and I'm free in that sense. It's that I'm elevated, lifted up by what I have now, which is better than just being not weighed down. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe that's not the greatest analogy.
It's not just not bad, but it's kind of good too, huh?
Yeah. Which, and I know some people have what they view as good experiences, and maybe that is, whatever it is. I My personal opinion on that, I guess, is that I don't. I still think that reconstruction is necessary, but that's ties into all of my theology. So
It's kind of important for you.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know what I think about that. I think mostly I probably and I know you would say this too, but I just don't know. Like I've recognized that I don't know. I can't speak for anyone but myself. You know what I mean? So I don't even want to attempt to.
yeah.
I just know that where I'm at now is a much better place. It's sort of like what you said. It's not just I don't feel. I mean, I think free. You use the word free, and I think that's probably the best word I could use to describe how I feel. So
Yeah, I guess it just depends on where it leads you, I guess, like where you land at, you know.
Right.
Which is why I said that for me,
Right.
that what felt like freedom was, in retrospect, I can look back on it and see that I actually wasn't free. I was just bound by new things.
Right.
New things that I wasn't allowed to be bound by when I was,
That's the
because I was a dirty, rotten sinner.
that's the interesting thing about like I mean we all know this in mind, but it's just so easy to lose sight of just how different we are and how our experiences are all different, and what felt like one thing for one person is different for another. It's kind of mind blowing, really.
Yeah. Well, I didn't expect us to talk about deconstruction, really.
I didn't really either. I don't know why we did.
I think it all stemmed from, of course, Trump.
Oh
And
yeah. Oh yeah, that's how we got there.
yeah. Because the question was, will this be the end of evangelicalism? And you got some coming and some going, though.
I just
And
know,
it's,
like I know from listening to Tim Whitaker on the New Evangelicals, I know that him and April LaJoy, from Tim and April, both have admitted, that they were in conservative Christian evangelical Christianity up until the Trump thing, and that was what made them to see what was happening and leave it behind. So
yeah.
I know that it's a common thing because I've seen the stories.
Yeah. What's funny is, I mean, I say funny, it's maybe not funny, but at that point, 2016, I was eyeball deep in my. I mean, I think at that point I was past deconstruction and to the point of just kind of like, I think all my sandbags were on the floor at that point,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, but the political stuff didn't really like go with it. Like I
Right.
remained pretty conservative, and I didn't have to be a Christian to stick with that.
Right.
It wasn't actually until I gave my life to Jesus, got saved, that I was like, wait a second, I don't know about this guy.
Yeah. I've been talking about it for decades now, so
Yeah. Because I remember there being something about him that kind of appealed to that version of myself. Um, and of course, I was this. I don't know. I have so many thoughts going through my head. I was I was just one of those people. I was just one of them. The and I hate using that kind of them language,
Right.
but like I was the type of person that just made the excuses and downplayed all of it and didn't just locker room talk and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I acknowledge that what he said was pretty crazy, but like it, yeah, I don't know. There was something still about him that like I kind of liked that he would just kind of say whatever
Yeah.
and didn't care what people thought. Like there was something about who he was then that appealed to me and who I was at that point.
Yeah.
And it was, like I said, it wasn't until I found Jesus that I feel like I saw through all of that. And that doesn't mean that I'm a Democrat now. I'm actually not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not liberal or conservative, really. I'd say I have elements of both within what I like the different cultural
Yeah.
issues. You know, I have different stances from both sides on both those things, I think. But ultimately, where I'm at now is I just don't think that the kingdom of God is compatible with any political system or any empire. It's all the beast and it's all empowered by the Satan.
Right. Yeah. Babylon is not going to defeat Babylon.
So we should quit trying, huh?
Yeah, I think for me, the political stuff, we've already talked about, we did a whole episode about this, about the whataboutisms, or, because if you criticize one side, everybody just, well, blah, 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 the other side. And that was never the thing for me. What was always the thing for me, and to me, it's worse now than it's literally ever been, but I've seen it all the way back to where I was in high school, is just sort of the excuses, I guess is probably the best word, to like explain away your side while demonizing the other. Like, as an example, I seen somebody say this on Facebook today, and I totally agreed with it. It was about Trump and the AI picture where he's portraying himself as Jesus. And, somebody had...
I'm going to put it right here.
Right here. So somebody had posted, like a picture. It was like from like 1919 or something, of like a Red Cross ad or whatever, and the guy had a white and red kind of robe on because Trump has come out and tried to say he wasn't Jesus. He thought it was a Red Cross doctor or whatever. And somebody had commented on that post and said, and this is the part where I was like, it was what I was already thinking anyway, but it was more like, regardless, if this had been Joe Biden, the people that are just giving it a free pass would be, having an absolute fit.
Yeah.
Like, he would be the Antichrist if he had done this. But with Trump, it's just like, it's not that. And that's the stuff that I can't stand. I can't stand like hypocrisy or like being two-faced about it. Like, I can acknowledge none of them are perfect, and if that's where we leave it, that's fine, but just be consistent. Like, don't freaking nitpick about the character, specifically about the character of one person, if you're just going to allow 10 times worse things go just because it's on your team. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
I cannot, and it seems to me like Trump has gotten that the worst. Like, he can get away with anything. I mean, he said himself he could walk down, I don't remember which street it was in New York City, and blast somebody away, and he would still get the votes. Like, and I believe it. It's true. Because he can get away with anything. He can say whatever he wants, and people just explain it away. Or, no, he's just kidding. He's just trying to trigger the liberals, or he's really owning the liberals, or whatever. It's just. But then I've had to listen to it basically because I'm also not a Democrat or Republican. I'm registered with the Green Party. I've always been left leaning in my politics. Both of my. Well, I don't care if they care or not, but both of my parents were Democrats. Like, everybody I knew was Democrats, right? That was the way I was raised up. So I seen it my whole life, basically, of like the two-facedness of it, Like, I used to get so frustrated with the right-wing talking points on abortion and pro-life and all of this, because like, it would be portrayed as like, well, if you're a Christian, you have to vote this way. But then like all of these other things that actually equate to pro-life, whether it be the death penalty or, assistance for the poor or healthcare or any of these other things, it was like, like just be consistent. Don't be a hypocrite about it. And I don't, if you at least own up to it and you say you still like this person better, then okay, I can accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere along the way, they convinced. I mean, I say somewhere along the way as if there's not like moments in history we can actually pinpoint and show this is kind of like a turning point.
Yeah.
To see, and it was because like there was a point in history, a point in time in which evangelicals were tricked, essentially, I think, tricked into thinking that they had to enter politics for the sake of the unborn, for, that was I think the main thing initially was abortion.
Seems like it from my memory, at least.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Regardless of what you think about abortion, I think what we did was we entered into politics naively thinking that we could actually change things from the inside, thinking that as long as we are the ones riding the beast,
right?
As long as we're the whore riding the beast, then we can control it.
Right.
And you just can't.
But the thing is, even Gandalf couldn't take the ring back to Mordor.
Right.
Because the ring corrupts all who hold it.
Yeah. And so I think evangelicalism entered politics with good intentions, I think.
Yeah.
But look at where we are now. We're at a point where I think that the average person, well, I don't know. I don't know if that's fair to say. I think that the line between conservative Christian, like conservative politically, and Christian are so blurred that like they're almost synonymous with each other to some people, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Just a really wordy way of saying what you said a minute ago, I guess.
Man, I thought I worded wordy with it. No.
But like it's like we can't even acknowledge that you can be a Christian and care about issues with that and like think, oh, maybe the left has some stuff that actually is kind of Christ-like too.
Right.
And I don't know, but either way, but the thing is for me, I don't care whether you're left or right. Like I said, we entered politics naively thinking that if we could ride the beast, we could control it, and we just can't. And I think that we are seeing the inevitable fruit of that now. We're seeing why we should have never forgotten that we are pilgrims in a strange land.
Yeah, the funny thing about that is that's actually a recent development for me, really. Because whether I would want to admit it or not, or say it the same way, like that's kind of where my position was. But it was more as a counterbalance, Like I've always talked about how, however much pressure I get from one side, I want to push back just as equally as hard from the other. And because I seen that what I didn't perceive to be, the Christ-like way from the right, I seen it more on the left, and so I was trying to counterbalance that. I was also trying to ride the beast, I was also trying to be the whore. I was also trying to wield the ring, because if only I could wield the ring, I could use it for good.
Yeah.
If I had the power that the ring held, I could really do good stuff,
Right.
So it's only within this year, actually, that I've moved in that direction. So
Yeah. Makes you want to watch The Lord of the Rings, huh?
I always want to watch The Lord of the Rings. But yeah. I mean, the most recent time I watched it, that really was part of me seeing that. It really did, because it was just sort of ironic that I was already sort of moving, and it was me and you had talked about it a little bit, and I was already sort of moving in that direction, and I just one day watched Lord of the Rings, and it was the perfect timing for it, and I was like, it clicked for me. I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. We can be as well-intentioned as Boromir and still fall prey to the ring.
Yeah.
Because even though you think you're riding the beast, you're controlling it. The beast is controlled by the powers, the principalities, spiritual wickedness in high places. All those things. All the enemies of God.
Don't you know these enemies are people?
Well, yeah. Is the devil a person?
Depends on how you define person, I guess.
I'm just going to leave that there.
I would say the devil is a part of all persons, perhaps.
Perhaps. Which shoulder is it, though?
Probably for me, it's going to be the right, because I'm right-handed, and I am more apt to do wrong things. So
That's a good response. We are totally depraved.
yes. Gum between my toes. Dear Darla.
My right shoulder does stay pretty angry with me most of the time, so
Yeah.
that probably is the one.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we went all kinds of random directions in this episode. I did not know.
I know. It'd be like that, I guess. We hadn't talked in a while.
Do be like that. I've found that a lot when we sit down to talk. It's like before we sit down, I'm like, I don't even know what I've got to say. I don't know and then the conversation just goes naturally anyway. So
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is I feel like I have nothing to say, but there is stuff in there. It just has to be pulled out of me, I guess.
Yeah. Well, here's something we could talk about. Let's go back to the thing you were saying about Trump and the endless excuses, which I agree with.
Right.
But I do think that this post, I have seen a decent amount of backlash from Christians.
Yeah.
About this recent AI generated, like clearly an image of him supposed to be Jesus healing what looks like Jeffrey Epstein, if I'm being honest.
I seen somebody else. I think it was Matt DiStefano said that too.
And there's like weird angel soldiers in the sky, and there's of course American flag, and he's got like healing in his hands.
He's gonna post it here.
Yes. And it's got like light coming out of his hands, like healing virtue in his hands, and even if he thought it was a doctor, like it's still freaking weird. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, even if you thought that was a doctor.
Yeah, but even, I mean, to your point, I have seen like some Christians come out and say like this isn't right. But even those I've seen, they try to like soften, like Allie Beth Stuckey's response. I don't even remember what it was now, but I remember reading this as it was sort of like, she was like, I truly don't think he meant that by it, but he needs better discernment next time. It's like, get the out of here, dude. But can you imagine what she would have posted if that had been Obama or Joe Biden? Like,
I mean, she literally made posts where she just flat out said Joe Biden is evil.
Yeah. But for when Trump does something like that, he just needs a little bit better discernment, but he's got a good heart. He means well. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking of Ali Bestecki whenever you said that earlier about people either aren't pushing back. The ones that are pushing back, a lot of times are doing it pretty softly. But even if there's people that are pushing back pretty harshly and saying like, no, this is legit blasphemy, and we won't stand for it. It's kind of like it's a little too late, guys. We're a decade into MAGA world at this point.
Right.
Like the MAGA universe is 10 years strong at this point. Like
It wasn't too much when he was grabbing them by the kitty cat. It wasn't too much, that was.
I mean, the thing that you just said, there's about, I don't know, 1,000 other things that you could name off the top of your head that are all reasons to abandon ship back in like 2016. But we're 10 years in at this point. And now, because this is the other thing, and I know that everybody has been saying this, but I'm going to say it too because it's the obvious thing that needs to be said. If evangelicals, and especially Paula White recently, but like if evangelicals, and even not just evangelicals, I mean, there's like Ben Shapiro has made comments about Trump being the anointed one, being anointed by God, raised up for such a time as this.
Right.
All this kind of language, like messianic language and all of that. It's like, do you expect him to do?
Right.
Like, can you actually be outraged now whenever evangelicals have spent 10 years calling this dude the anointed one?
Right.
Anointed by God? And he's like, well, anointed as Messiah. Here I am, Messiah. And you're like, hey, buddy, wait a second, Buster. No, you have no right to be upset now.
Right. That was another thing that always used to just piss me off whenever I was growing up, and I was in high school and college. They would always be, the left wing politics was always the Antichrist, always the Antichrist, always the Antichrist. And then but if their guy got voted in, it was like God's will was done. He's the anointed one. He's come to, you know what I mean? Like that was always driving me. That one grind my gears in the words of Peter Griffin.
It really grinds my gears. Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't even know what else to say about that. About the Trump thing. It's just so
But that
obviously blasphemous, but like.
But that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about I don't even have a reaction to it anymore. It's just I expect it. That's sort of the vibe I get out of it. Is sort of like, yeah, it's blasphemous, of course, but it's not even the first blasphemous thing he's done this week, probably. You know what I mean? It's
yes.
It's just a normal life. Yeah. I mean,
he's beefing with the Pope.
Yeah.
Just also stupid.
Especially because the Pope is talking about hey guys, I don't think war is a great thing.
Right.
And the Trump is and he's like, they should have made your brother the Pope. This guy sucks. Okay.
I mean, Trump called for genocide, and folks like Mike Licona and other well-known people in the Christian evangelical world are just kind of acting like it's no big deal that he said an entire civilization will end tonight. That that is genocide by definition. We're just gonna breeze past it like it's no big deal. And then the Pope is just like you said, kind of maybe war is not a great idea. And he's the worst. I don't know. It's insanity.
It is.
To your point, it's insanity that we're starting to grow numb to. But as I said from the jump at the beginning of this episode, I don't think it's good. I don't think that's good that we're getting numb to it.
I don't think it's good, at least for me. I can only speak for myself again. I don't think it's good, especially for the future of the church. Like what we were talking about, is this the end of the very least evangelicalism? Because that's why I feel numb to it, is because I've sort of, and we've talked about this in several episodes, I see it now as a total, I don't share that religion anymore. That's not what I am. Whatever word you want to define those with, that's not me. So that's why I'm able to feel that numbness to it, because I no longer feel that sting that I know you've talked about before, because they're using the name Jesus, where you feel that sort of something about it that just like, because I've severed that with the American cultural Christianity to where I don't even feel that anymore. Like, and again, that is not a good thing for the future of the church, because that means I'm not identifying with that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I still have hope. I have hope that truth overcomes lies in the end. Even if we have to take I don't know where this is going to take us. I think a lot of people right now are maybe just like kind of just trying to power through it, just like keep your head down and just, we only got a few more years and then hopefully things will get better. But I don't know, man. This whole thing may have set us on a trajectory that's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And, yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that's at least because I'm probably the more skeptical of the two of us, the more, but I do sort of see it almost inevitably, that latter option, because because of the way that I understand the beast to work through the observation of my lifetime, like what people see, I think, in Trump that's what people want. So they're just going to try to be him plus one to get elected in, and it's just going to continue to escalate. It's just like violence; it escalates. Like that's the way our elections work, Like everything, but Trump didn't just appear. Like he was a result of everything that led up to him, and then he's going to lead like further down that line.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is a plus that Viktor Orban was defeated.
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? Like it's possible that we're starting to see a sort of
Yeah.
transition
It just
there.
depends on what you're looking for, where you look, but there's definitely things that you can see.
Glimmers of hope.
There's glimmers. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Because what I am noticing is, we talked about those people exiting out of evangelical Christianity, the people that have, particularly since 2016 on, while some of them do deconstruct and just walk away from Christianity altogether, I am seeing a good number do the reconstruction thing, and I'm seeing a lot of that's a lot of what my TikTok is that kind of community, people like me who have deconstructed, or a decade into a deconstruction and have now started reconstructing towards something more healthy, and so I'm seeing those communities pop up, and like people putting out content. There are people talking about it, and I don't know. I mean, I think it gives an alternative option that maybe can persist, I guess is the way I would say it.
Yeah, I mean, that's my hope. Really, my hope is that we return to the roots, the ruts of Christianity. That there is a remnant. I said it a while back, but it's such a good analogy. Bears repeating maybe. Like when Elijah felt like he was like literally the only one left, and God's like, well, no, there's there's a remnant. There's more folks out there. Like I do feel like there is a remnant of folks that want real true historic Christianity, not historic Christianity as Alyssa Childers defines it, but like real true historic Christianity. And I think if we can just go there and drink from those wells, it will solve so much of our bad theology, so much of our political division, so much of it could be. I don't think that's too strong. I think a lot of our problems could be resolved by drinking from the wells of those ancient church fathers, those that read and spoke the original Greek language, that were a generation or two removed from the disciples. I think that is the path forward. I think we have to reclaim that. And I think if we do, we'll be in a much healthier place.
It would be hard to be in a more unhealthy place. So,
Yeah, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, unless we just continue down the path that we are on right now,
right,
and that just keeps getting worse.
right.
But yeah, I don't know. But like I said, I am, at the end of the day, I am hopeful. I am not just hopeful, I am confident that truth will win. Truth will overcome the lies. Light overcomes the darkness. Love overcomes hate. That's where I'm at with it. I'm hopeful. Even in the midst of what seems dark.
I'm hopeful, I guess, but I don't know what that hope looks like yet.
Yeah.
That's why I was trying to think about how I would want to word it, but that was the best I could come up with, I think. As I do feel hopeful, but I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. I feel you. Well, dude, I don't think we talked about anything we planned on, or not. We didn't have a hard plan, but we had some ideas.
Yeah, we had
kicked
some
around.
some ideas. We had O.P. Hegseth, which I didn't even know anything about
man.
that.
Well, whenever I saw that Trump generated AI, like the AI generated Trump picture with him as Jesus,
Yeah,
then I was kind of like, well, bringing up the Pete Hegseth thing, that's maybe a different thing. Maybe that's just old news at this point.
yeah.
But yeah,
The only other thing that I had, it was what we were talking about before, which is totally unrelated to anything that we've been talking about so
yeah,
so far. But man, I was listening to this YouTube video today, and it was just a short clip, but it was Bart Ehrman, and he was doing like I guess they called it a debate, but I don't know how much of a debate it was. But of course, it's Easter season, right? So they were talking about the resurrection. And this guy, the Christian apologist guy, was making such a terrible, stupid argument from my perspective, and not surprisingly, Mr. Ehrman's perspective as well. But but I had this thought of how like or just why do people like is their faith so cheap that they have to come up with these just, I'm sorry to use the word, but I don't know any stupid ideas for like as proofs for these things. Like, is your faith that weak that we have to come up with that? And then, of course, I had this whole conversation in my head like a real psychopath about how like
I'll always be doing that.
about how like I guess some people do need that stuff, but how it's so ironic because I think that there are some people who would hear what that guy was saying and like, yeah, and like that be edifying to them and their faith, and like it literally has the opposite effect on me. Like that kind of stuff, like hearing that just like zapped some faith right out of me. I was just like I could feel the faith leaving me as I was listening to this guy talk. Like when I hear apologists like come up with these ridiculous excuses for things, it literally hurts my faith. Like I mean, but it's just so funny how like I think they come up with those apologetics because it helps theirs, but it hurts mine. Like, and now I don't know. I had that whole conversation with myself about that though.
Well, now I'm curious. Was it with Mike Lacona?
I don't know who it was. But his whole argument was that because so many people are Christians today, that's proof that the resurrection was real.
That's too much.
That's
That's too much to say.
That's dumb. Like Ehrman's whole point was like, well, the Mormon church is growing at the same rate as early Christianity did. Like, does that mean Joseph Smith was telling the truth too? And the guy was like, no. Like, it's just a stupid argument.
Right. Yeah, what it does point to is that the earliest believers really believed it, I think.
Yeah.
But that's about as much as you can say, I think.
But it was just more a broad topic about like just apologetics and how like because it goes back to something I was saying earlier about just being honest. Like just I can handle hard truths. I'm okay working out things that I don't understand. I'm okay with like paradox to a certain degree if I can sit with it. What I'm not okay with is just coming up with just where from my perspective you're obviously twisting yourself into 9 million pretzel knots to make this work, because then it's just in my mind it's like, oh, okay, well then this doesn't work. Like I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, more and more, I'm just like I've said this on here before. I would be a terrible apologist. Yeah, I just more and more, I'm just convinced that like this is either something that, and I don't know why this is, but I think that these aren't things that we can prove. We can. That doesn't mean you have to. That doesn't mean you have to be intellectually dishonest. That doesn't mean you have to like. That doesn't mean you can't actually think about the things and think of how these things can make sense,
Right.
on certain levels. Like there's not like you can't or shouldn't like try to have some sort of like coherence to them, but like at the end of the day, all this stuff, everything in the Christian faith is faith, man.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. Like you cannot convince someone that a person was dead for 3 days and came back to life. You cannot, with empirical data and with 2,000 years later, you cannot,
Right.
with reason and logic, make someone believe that. You just can't.
Right.
I mean, I think you only can if the person really wants to believe it anyway, and if for some reason it just grabs them,
Yeah.
like
I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm totally fine with that. Like, if people were just, because that's honest. We can't prove it. I don't know. I don't think it's something that will ever be proven because I don't think it can be proven. But I believe it. Okay, I can accept that. I respect that. That's what I'm looking for. Not let me twist myself into all these contortions just so I can try to make sense of it. Like, no, just be honest about it. That's what I can accept.
and I almost wonder if some of I don't know, maybe this is not the right thing to say. This is too much to say. But I almost wonder if a lot of apologetics is just rooted in pride. It's like you don't like that someone is like pushing back against the logic, pushing back against the reason, is pushing back and like making solid points against your position,
Right.
like your statement. You're making this statement. You're saying, I believe this to be true, and this person is giving you all of this like evidence to the contrary.
Critique.
Right. And it's your pride that says, I have to have responses to these things, and I have to be able to go back and forth with this person and have legitimate reasons. And I mean, there's scriptures. There's scriptures for literally any occasion. You can pull a scripture out of context and like, so there's the whole thing about being ready to give a response and like, of course, yeah, sure. But like, that doesn't mean that you have to, I don't think you get to apologetics from that though.
Right.
Like, it just means you have to have some sort of response to give, some sort of way to demonstrate that you believe this, and this is why you believe it. It doesn't mean that you have to win every argument,
Right.
or like, I just don't think. I think that maybe all of that is rooted in pride. Honestly, you don't want to feel stupid, so you
Right. But what came to my mind when you were talking about all that was Jesus on trial before Pilate. Like, he never defends himself, not once. Pilate asks, are you the Son of God? Or say Son of God or Son of Man? King of the Jews. Are you the King of the Jews?
Yeah.
He says, you say I am. Like,
yeah.
He wasn't worried about what they would think about him. He just, you say I am. I mean, there was no defense from him. So that's interesting.
Yeah. Depending on, especially, it gets really interesting, the details, because like in John's account of his conversation with Pilate is very different.
Yeah.
Like, I think in Luke's account, he doesn't say a word, I think. Like in some of the accounts, he's like very, very quiet.
Yeah.
And in others, like in John's gospel, it's almost like he's the one doing the interrogating
Right.
of Pilate. But yeah, but those differences are intentional, and they're telling, and they tell us something. But yeah, to your point, yeah, I think that like there are moments when we can just, the best thing you can do is just like, all right, man,
Yeah.
like whatever you say. You know, like I mean, there's even that Old Testament prophecy of Jesus that says that, you know, of the Messiah, that says that he wouldn't try to defend himself. He wouldn't try to
Yeah.
I forget the wording on it, but like essentially saying that like, yeah, he's not going to try to plead his own case, you know, like
Sometimes I don't wonder if it's as much fear as pride. Like I think pride, like to your point, pride can factor into it, but I also think fear is a huge factor into it.
oh, okay,
too.
I think you said that opposite a second ago,
Oh, sorry.
because you said you don't think it's as much fear as it is pride, and I was like, well, pride's what I said.
Oh, no.
I got you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that I would say it's more one or the other. I just think it could be either or, and there's probably others it could be too, but I think that
Yeah.
that fear is a huge factor into it, just because if someone has good critiques against you and you don't have an answer for those, then what are you left with? Like disbelief? Like, did they just take that from me? You know what I mean? Did they argue me out of that? So at least I think that's generally how our belief works. Like or I guess that's how my belief works, at least, is if people present me with good information that I'm going to think through, and if I don't have an answer for it, it's probably going to change the way I see the world. You know what I mean? So I think that there's a little bit of fear in there of, hey, these people are giving me a critique, and I need to think through an answer. If I don't have an answer for it, I don't know if I believe this anymore. You know?
Yeah, and I think, but like I said, just who I am, I do think there's limits to that, because I think that, and there's always a quote that comes to mind when I think about this, and that's Blaise Pascal, and he says that the heart has reasons that reason knows nothing of. And so, yeah, you may have reasons to believe something that reason itself can't reason you to. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think my experience, that's what actually happened for me a lot, was the opposite of, well, not necessarily the opposite of that, but maybe that didn't happen for me. A lot of it was just finally being honest with what the evidence was presenting to me, for me. And I just was like, that's really the catalyst for what changed my views in a lot of different ways. But maybe that's not true. I don't know. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think that at the end of the day, anything, when we're talking about God, we're really talking about something that can't be reasoned.
God.
So
Yeah, it's stanza number 1 of the Tao Te Ching. The thing that can be named is not the Tao. If it can be grasped, it's not the Tao. If we can name it, if we can describe it, if we can understand it, it's not God.
that ain't it. Yeah. I think we can know more what it's not a lot of times than what it is and what God is. I think that God is knowable to a certain extent, but yeah, I think ultimately we're talking about a mystery, and I know God's not evil, I guess. I suppose it's possible that there's the evil God hypothesis could be true, I guess, but I doubt it.
I don't want to believe that. I think more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, if that is true, I don't think I want to know it.
Yeah.
Just continue to let me live in my delusion, I guess.
Exactly. Well, I think that a lot of people would hear that and be like, oh, you don't want to live in delusion. And I mean, that is true. That is true.
Right.
But I think that the truer truth is that just because something appears to be an illusion doesn't mean that it's not. Doesn't mean that it isn't true, actually. It may be that the delusion is truer than the reality that someone else thinks that they're living in. And there's a quote to go with that, too, that I can't remember. But it's from, like, I can't remember what book that's from. But anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I'm more open than I ever have been, probably, to I don't know. About God. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I would be. I would readily admit that there's plenty of mystery involved. I do think that for me, personally, where I'm at, where I've been for a long time, I don't see myself moving from there for a while, but we'll see what the future holds. Is that, yeah, I'm pretty sold on this idea that God looks like Jesus. That Jesus is the exact representation of the nature, the character of God. And that's good enough for me for the moment.
I don't have any complaints about it.
Yeah. Well, dude, anything else we want to talk about? We're about an hour 20.
Hour and chanty already?
Yep.
Man. I don't guess so. Nothing comes to mind.
We'll hold all the juicy gossip for off the record.
That's right. We talk about everybody that we know.
Yes.
Behind their backs, behind the camera.
Stabbing them right in the back.
Yeah.
Hey, okay. Ready?
Yep.
Bye.